Chapter 19 of The Ice Monster by David Walliams, narrated by me. Chapter 19, Lightning in the Bottle. Down in the secret room, the two intruders froze in fear as a figure wheeled himself out of the darkness, holding a lantern. The man was so elderly he had the appearance of a tortoise. He was completely bald and wore a pair of half-moon spectacles on the end of his nose. His clothes were a dirty old laboratory coat worn over a tweed suit that was falling apart at the seams. He had gnarled slippers on his feet and fingerless gloves on the callus-encrusted hands. "It's you!" cried Dotty. "Everyone thought you were dead." "No," Lowly cleaning woman. "I am much alive." "Who is he?" "I am the Professor," he announced grandly. "Professor what?" asked Elsie. "Exactly," joked Dotty. "Everyone at the museum knew him. He used to be one of the top men here until the—" Yes, the Professor interrupted. "We don't need to go into all of that." "What's all that?" asked Elsie, intrigued. "The Professor nearly burnt the whole museum down in one of his madcap experiments," said Dotty. The old man's face turned a furious shade of purple. "That is not what happened, you stupid, stupid woman." "Well, then, what did happen, you not quite as clever as you think man?" The girl couldn't help but smirk. Here were two grown-ups bickering like children. The Professor wheeled himself about his secret laboratory, lighting the candles around the space one by one. Soon, a room was revealed, the likes of which neither Elsie nor Dotty had ever seen before. There were glass tubes everywhere, chemicals in dusty old bottles, and scientific equations scribbled in chalk on every inch of the walls. It was like being able to see inside the old man's brain. Brilliant, but bonkers. "I was conducting a revolutionary experiment to harness the power of lightning," continued the Professor. "Something I have been working on for many years. One stormy night, 10 years ago, I launched a small metal-tipped balloon into the sky. Attached to the balloon was a length of copper wire. The wire led down to that bottle that now lies smashed on the ground." "So, what happened?" asked Elsie, intrigued. "I'll tell you what happened," interrupted Dotty. "Do you mind if I tell my own story? Thank you." "Thank you very much, you ignorant woman," asked the Professor. "I ain't got a clue what ignorant means," scolded the woman, "but it better not be something bad." "My experiment was a complete success," continued the Professor. "I captured lightning in a bottle. That is what gave you that little electric shock." "Little!" exclaimed Elsie. "Anything bigger and it would have killed you," replied the Professor. "Sizzled to death in a heartbeat." Elsie gulped. "So, if the experiment was a complete success, why'd you lose your job?" she asked. "Good question," murmured Dotty. "Silence!" ordered the Professor. "The copper wire became wrapped round one of the museum's towers. Another much strong bolt of lightning hit the balloon and it set the tower on fire." Dotty jumped in. "It was very lucky that it was raining cats and dogs that night, or the fire would have burnt the whole museum to the ground." The Professor fell silent for a moment, then bowed his head in sorrow. "I was hauled in front of the museum director and told in no uncertain terms that I was never to practice science again. I was thrown out. But the museum was my life. I had nowhere else to go. So I hid down here in the cellar. It was so long ago now. All of us upstairs thought you were dead. I might as well be, murmured the old man. Now, I'm just rotting away in the dark, waiting for the end. My dream of becoming one of the world's most famous scientists is nothing but ashes. I have more chance of capturing lightning in a bottle. Elsie's face lit up. A thought flashed across her mind. It was so crazy, it was brilliant. And so brilliant, it was crazy. I think there's still a chance your name could go down in history. How? Sputtered the old man. You could help bring a prehistoric creature back to life. Chapter 20, Darkfire. Not the saber-toothed tiger, exclaimed Dotty. No, laughed Elsie. That's just a skeleton. No, I suppose there's a little help for that now. You don't mean the mammoth, do you? The mammoth? Yes. Oh, that's what I said, protested the lady. Mammoth! You want to bring the mammoth upstairs back to life? Yes! So, we have a new arrival, do we? Asked the professor. I wondered what all that noise was. Bring it back to life is madness. Good madness or bad madness? Asked Elsie. Is there a good kind? Yes. Listen, that creature has been perfectly preserved for 10,000 years. It looks like it snuffed it yesterday, right? Dotty nodded her head. So surely, with the professor's lightning-catchy thingamajig, we could give it a ginormous shock and restart its heart. Elsie and Dotty looked at the professor. He was a science expert after all, even though he had very nearly burnt the Natural History Museum down to the ground. His old eyes lit up with a dark fire. He stared straight ahead as the plan began to take the shape in his mind. That is a genius idea of mine, he whispered. Elsie looked mightily confused. Wasn't it her idea? I can use my lightning technology to create life. A dream of all scientists since the dawn of time. To be God. Oh, I think it's gone to his head a little bit, murmured Dotty. I will go down in history as the greatest scientist of my age. No, of all time. Isaac Newton. An apple fell on your head and came up with the idea of gravity. Who cares? Nicholas Copernicus. You discovered that the earth revolves around the sun rather than the other way around. Big deal. Charles Darwin. So you completely changed the way we think about life on Earth with your theory of evolution. Duh. They'll rip up your books and burn your paintings and tear down your statues and put up ones of me. Yes, it will be all about me. There was an uncomfortable silence for a moment. Have you finished? Asked Elsie. The professor paused for thought. Yes. You two will be my assistants. You must do everything I say and be prepared to lay down your lives in the name of science if need be. Now come on, there's no time to lose. Instantly, the old man started busying himself around the laboratory, handing pieces of scientific equipment to Elsie, who followed him around like an eager puppy. Dotty looked on in disbelief. Have you two completely lost your minds? She asked. The mind is an abstract construct, replied the professor. What he just said, agreed the girl, not having understood a word of it. Now, if you do manage to catch a bolt of lightning and somehow bring this mammoth, corrected Elsie. Mammoth, that's what I said. Back to life. What are you going to do with it? It was a good question and stopped both of them in its tracks. Pondered the girl. Maybe the mammoth can come and live with you. Dotty went dotty. With me? I rent a tiny attic room in a boarding house. There's no cats or dogs. There's a no cats or dogs rule. What about a no mammoths rule? Asked Elsie. No! Well, then, there ain't a no dinosaurs rule either. I ain't sure the landlady thought she'd need any rules about animals that had been extinct for 1,000,000 years. Well, if I can't live with you, maybe come live with me, said Elsie. You don't have a home. So maybe we can set it free. Elsie noticed the professor smiling to himself. He was hiding something. But what? We can work on all the final details in good time, he said. First, we have to bring it back to life. Now, where did I put that copper wire? Dotty grabbed whatever bit of scientific equipment Elsie was holding and put it down on the counter. Come on, Elsie, this is all going to end in tears, said the lady. With that, Dotty grabbed the girl's hand and dragged her over to the secret door. Please, Dotty, I beg you, cried the professor. I need your help too. No! Please! No means no! Just the other side of the door, boot steps could once be heard. Click, clack, click, clack, click, clack. The pair fell silent. Shush! Hushed Elsie. It's Clout. He doesn't know I'm here, hissed the professor. Nobody does. If you led him here, then shushed the girl again. All three kept dead still as bootsteps came to a halt, right outside the secret door. Click, clack, click, clack, click, clack. There followed a sound of light tapping. Tap, tap, tap. Dotty held her chest. Her heart was racing. Elsie had to hide herself countless times before. The trick was not to breathe. The girl stretched out her hand to silence the old lady. Dotty clasped her hands together and closed her eyes in prayer. Had Clout worked out there was something behind that secret door? Not yet. There was a sound of bootsteps again as Clout moved off. Click, clack, click, clack, click, clack, click, clack, click, clack, 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 click, click, click. If I know Mr. Clout, he will be back, whispered the professor. We have to move at lightning speed if we want to bring the monster back to life. What could possibly go wrong, muttered Dotty. Chapter 21. 1,000 Silk Handkerchiefs. In his secret laboratory, the professor expounded his madcap plan. We need to make a giant hot air balloon from silk handkerchiefs and fly it over the museum in a lightning storm. Elsie, you will need to steal the silk handkerchiefs. Have you ever stolen anything before? Once or twice, lied the girl. How many do you need? No more than 1,000. 1,000? Give or take. Where am I going to get 1,000 silk handkerchiefs from? 1,000 well-to-do ladies and gentlemen, of course. Now, we will need a round piece of metal, continued the professor, like a soldier's tin helmet. Dotty suddenly jumped up and down, looking as if she desperately needed a wee. But in actual fact, she was just overexcited. Ooh! Ooh! She cried, waving her hand in the air. Yes? Asked the professor. I know where to get a tin helmet. Me boyfriend Titch. We'll have one from his war days. Perfect. We will need to attach it to the top of the balloon. Let me show you. The professor reached into the pocket of his dirty laboratory coat. Now, where on earth is my chalk? Elsie looked a little sheepish. It must have slipped out of your pocket and into my hand, she lied. Very good, child, very good. The professor was mightily impressed. Those fingers will come in handy when you're stealing the handkerchiefs. The old man held out his hand and she placed the stolen chalk into it. Then he began drawing his invention on the wall of the laboratory, giving a commentary as he sketched. So, here is the balloon with the tin helmet at the very top. The balloon will have a wicker basket attached by ropes at the bottom here. In the middle of the basket will place a metal drum. Inside that drum, wood would be burned. The hot air will cause the balloon to inflate and take to the skies. Whew, this is all getting very involved, muttered Dotty. Silence while the great professor speaks, he snapped. Then the pilot of the balloon will fly up into the heart of the storm when lightning strikes here. He bashed his chalk against the drawing board of the metal helmet. The lightning bolt will travel along this length of the copper wire all the way down through the museum and will have embedded right into... But before he could finish his sentence, Elsie did it for him. The mammoth's heart. Exactly, exclaimed the professor. You're a fast learner, young lady. Dotty put her hand in the air. Yes? He asked grandly. Can I say something? No, he snapped. The lady crossed her arms in a sulk. So, you, Elsie, will steal the 1,000 silk handkerchiefs, then you and Dotty will sew them together to make the balloon. The tin helmet this Titch character will provide. The basket, metal drum and firewood Elsie can scavenge from the streets. Copper wire I have here from my last experiments. It couldn't be simpler. Dotty and Elsie stood there, open-mouthed in shock. Simple was not the word that sprang into mind. So, who will be going up into the balloon? Asked Elsie. The professor grinned a wicked grin. Not you, child. No? No, I'll need a little person to squeeze through all the nooks and crannies of the museum and thread the copper wire all the way down from the roof into the main hall. Are you going up into the balloon then, Professor? Asked the girl. No, child. My infantry would prevent me from undertaking such a deadly mission. So, who is? The professor's dark eyes fixed on Dotty. Elsie followed his gaze. Why is everyone looking at me? Dotty asked. Because you, cleaning woman, will have the honour of taking on the most dangerous, perhaps deadly part of the mission. Flying the hot air balloon straight into a lightning storm. Chapter 22. The beauty of the scheme. Me! Exclaimed Dotty. Yes, you! Replied the professor. But I'm scared of heights. I can feel wobbly while standing on a chair to dust the ceiling. Listen to me, woman, commanded the professor. What better honour could there be in life than to die in the name of science? Die? That would be the worst case scenario. I'm too young to die. The professor peered over his half-moon spectacles to examine the lady. I beg to differ. How dare you? I will go up in the balloon, offered Elsie. No, began the man. How on earth would we get this great fat lump down a chimney? Charming, exclaimed Dotty. Now I'm old and fat. Oh, don't fret, woman. There is little chance of you falling out and plunging to your death as I can strap you to the basket. That's reassuring, replied the lady. Obviously, the real danger is being hit by lightning. What? Don't worry. It's a very quick and painless death. You will be incinerated in a millisecond. you would barely know what hit you. That's the beauty of the scheme. You're nuts. Oh, thank you, replied the professor. What about clout? Asked Elsie. Yes, mused the man. The security guard can be very troublesome. We need to somehow make sure he's otherwise engaged. I don't think he's engaged or married, exclaimed Dotty. It's a figure of speech, exclaimed the professor. Perhaps we could lock him in the cleaning cupboard, suggested the girl. That would be perfect, he replied. How are we going to get out of here without being seen? Asked Elsie. The whole museum is swarming with police and guards right now. You can climb out of the coal chute. Just here. The man wheeled himself over to the wall and revealed a small opening hidden by a box. Dotty examined the hole. What about me? She asked. You can try and squeeze yourself up the chute, and then I can poke you through by prodding your ample bottom with this broomstick. That's very kind of you, replied Dotty sarcastically. But they ain't looking for me, just the girl, I think. I'll wait a while, and then when the coast is clear, I'll go out the door and up the stairs. Yes, but don't wait too long, please, replied the professor. I don't want you cluttering up the place. Well, excuse me. Elsie? Yes, Professor? I want you to be back here this time tomorrow night with 1,000 silk handkerchiefs. Tomorrow night? Yes, child. No later than 9 o'clock tomorrow night. And look here, the air pressure is getting lower. The man pointed to a barometer on the wall. We need to be ready for a lightning storm by the end of the week. I'll do my best, Professor, said the girl as she shimmed up the chute. The professor stared at Dotty for a while. Are you still here? He asked. Meanwhile, Elsie ran away from the museum as fast as she could. Her mind raced along with her legs. How on earth was she going to steal 1,000 handkerchiefs in just 24 hours? That's the end of these chapters, folks. If you enjoyed, please do not forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below which book I should read after this one. See you guys in the next chapters. Bye-bye.